Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. Hope everyone was doing good. It is Saturday, 10/24. Really beautiful morning today. I think it's supposed to be nice the whole weekend. So yeah, I'm in the midst. I just uploaded a couple of new videos. I've been setting up. I've been recording videos pretty much every day, sticking to sticking to my pretty normal routine. One thing I've been doing different, quite a bit different, is I've been setting videos up as premieres. Just to kind of break up, the space and time when when videos come up on this channel. So I went to Bull Moose about when the heck was it? I think it was about almost 2 weeks ago. I had not gone to Bull Moose in a really long time, so I was missing it hardcore. Movie prices, especially for the boutique label movies that I really seek out, like that's as far as a movie collector and as just being a film fanatic. The exploitation genre is the movies that I really am proactively, seeking out all the time. That's my favorite love. But unfortunately, well, like most things, but prices have gone up dramatically for a lot of those labels. So it's a little bit harder. That's not going to deter me from buying movies. I will continually buy them. I'm going to go up probably again at some point, probably within the next week or so. But we'll see what happens. I I love my love of those movies is won't ever diminish because of that. I probably will have to buy a little bit less. There was a time where I was buying a lot of them, but prices have gone up just strictly for financial reasons. But anyway, I went up and I got some really awesome movies, and I've done two shows on some of those movies. Nightmare being one from 1975, which was this it is just an amazing slasher movie which I had never seen before. I uploaded that video, and just amazing. And another movie I just finished, and I set it up as a premiere. Another just incredible sci-fi exploitation movie that I had never seen. Totally blown away by it, and it's completely bonkers. And that is 1967's The Terranauts. Totally, totally wacky and crazy, but amazing. And so stay tuned for that video that's coming up. And I got a couple more videos. I got two more movies in that collection to watch and to also to do a show on. And then I also went last weekend. I was up at the movie theater in Regal Cinema, I think it's called, up in Augusta, and I went to go see the new Ari Aster movie Eddington, which I really liked a lot, and it was a really intense experience. And I did that review for that film is up, so check that out. Again, I want to thank the people who have been subscribing. We're almost at 500, so 500 followers. So really appreciate the love, and also all the folks who have been commenting on these videos. And I went to after the movie. We all went to was it Barnes and Noble? I think it's called. Yeah, Barnes and Noble, which is I'm amazed it still exists, but it's basically a big giant bookstore. They have an amazing book selection, and they actually have magazines that they sell. But they have some really good movies, and I got some really awesome movies up there. I just uploaded the two of the movies that I got there were the 50th anniversary for Jaws. I finally got that on Blu-ray. I had been trying to get that for quite a while. Two movies that two movies that I've been really seeking out, and just I couldn't really find. I wanted to get a really good definitive edition, like some kind of anniversary collection with a lot of special features and just remastered. But for some reason, I had the hardest time finding them. But I finally got the two that I've been wanting, and there's one more that I absolutely want to get. Which again, it's the same situation. I see it all the time on Blu-ray, but it's like I don't know. I want to get a really nice edition, like one with one with like a collector's edition, one with a bunch of special features. But I haven't been able to find it. But the two movies that I did finally get is John Carpenter's Halloween, which is surprising because, I mean, both of these movies are so popular, and Jaws, surprisingly, like really weird. Two other movies that I want to get is Road Warrior, Mel Gibson, Road Warrior. That was my favorite. It's probably my favorite movie in the George Miller franchise, and that was the first one I ever saw as a kid. And I I've seen that movie so many freaking times. I can't even can't I can't even count. And but I can't find a really good definitive version of that on Blu-ray. That's one on my list. And then the other one that I really, really need to get, which is my favorite film of all time, is a really good definitive version of The Godfather on Blu-ray. I don't really have that. I have a really good copy of it. I have the DVD collection that came out, the box set, which is really amazing. But I want to get a definitive version of The Godfather on Blu-ray, loaded with special features. But so those are two other movies that I need to get, and at some point I'll get them when I come across them. But I did get Jaws, which I was super excited, and then another movie I got, which I just uploaded a video for Godzilla Minus One, and I just finished up that video this morning, and I just set it up as premiere. I did a review of that film when it came out, which was 2 years ago. I saw it in the theater. Just an amazing film, and I just bought it on Blu-ray at last weekend when I bought Jaws, and I got this incredible edition, really cheap too. It was 30% off for both movies, so unbelievable movie, just spectacular. So I just did a review of the Blu-ray version of that film. So check that out when that premieres. So today's show is going to be a little bit of a different show. I'm always trying to, bring some variety. Everything is always somehow tied to film or music. It's all connected to me for me. So tomorrow I'm going to, I think probably tomorrow night we're going to go see the new Fantastic Four. Kind of excited to see it. I've heard some good things. I'm actually a huge fan. I grew up like a billion other kids. I grew up, enamored with comic books. I still buy comic books every now and then, and I still have all of my comics from when I was a kid. And the Fantastic Four they were that was something. They were characters that I was really into as a kid. My number one favorite superhero of all time is, of course, Batman. Also a huge Superman fan. I always as a kid, and Iron Man. A lot of the classic comic book characters. I was a huge X-Men fan. I was a massive Daredevil fan, and I was into Power Man and Iron Fist, but Captain America, Spider-Man, of course, the Hulk, Wolverine, and also the Fantastic Four. Massive fan of theirs. I always bought a bunch of their comics when I was a kid. I have quite a few of those. So I always loved the heavy duty kind of science fiction element to their storylines and their origins. And so I wanted to do a little show today because I think there's about 4 or 5 movies out. Basically, there are about 4 or 5 movies that have been made about the Fantastic Four, and with the exception of maybe one that I own that I actually like, they haven't been able to get it right with nailing those characters. So I'm going to do a show where I'm going to talk about all of the Fantastic Four movies that have come out. in the last 10 or 15 years or 20 years. As a segue to going to see the new one tomorrow, which I will of course do a review on. And again, the funny thing is I have talked about it a lot. I have been suffering from extreme superhero movie fatigue for a long time. I was not happy with superhero movies for the longest time, and my interest now has kind of come back to a degree. So I felt for the longest time that ever since the last Spider-Man film, Homecoming, and especially with the last two Avenger films, Infinity War and Endgame. Infinity War is my favorite comic book movie of all time. Ever since those films, I felt like Marvel has just missed the mark every time. It's been I feel like it's been impossible for them to top what they've done, but then also, keep it interesting, and everything has been pale in comparison. Shang-Chi was one movie I remember maybe being the exception. That movie's actually really, really good. I do want to see it again. I saw that movie once in the theater and I really liked it, but I do want to eventually buy that on Blu-ray. But that was one movie over the course of many years that I feel it's been just kind of awful. And the same thing, especially for DC movies. Of course, my favorite two, my favorite superhero of all time, Batman, DC, and being a huge Superman fan, of course, DC. But I'm overall, the majority of my love with comics and comic book movies, when I compare the DC universe to the Marvel universe, I think there's way more quality and just really great Marvel movies in comparison to DC. I think the one exception or two exceptions, I really love the Zack Snyder Justice League Snyder Cut. I think that movie is incredible. It's the best thing he's ever done, I think. And also Robert Patterson's The Batman, which is technically its own thing, but it's a DC movie. It is its own thing. No, it's not directly tied into what James Gunn is doing now, really at all. But that movie is my favorite Batman film of all time, starring Robert Patterson. And I have to say, I did a big show on the new James Gunn Superman movie, and I actually really liked that movie a lot. I thought it was kind of fantastic. I'm eager to see it again. I was really excited after I saw that movie, and I felt like, okay, I want to see more of these movies. I never thought in a million years I would be saying that, or really being excited about seeing more comic book movies after, these last few years. So when I came up with this idea this morning, I was, doing a little bit of research on all of the movies that have come out about the Fantastic Four. I was surprised. One movie in particular, which I definitely haven't seen, and I really want to see. There was a low budget version of the Fantastic Four movie that came out in 92, and it was put out by New Horizon Studios. It's I guess a really low budget movie, but the kicker here that got me, where I'm like, I got to see this. It was put out by New Horizon Studios, which was owned by the great and legendary Roger Corman, and I'm like, Roger Corman involved with a Fantastic Four movie, I'm sold. Roger Corman, he just passed away fairly recently, and a legend in the world of exploitation. One of my favorite producers, one of my favorite directors, just an amazing figure in the world of exploitation and B movies. So I didn't know that he was involved with any ties to the Fantastic Four films. I guess that was the first one. And then there was a like an official big budget Hollywood version of the Fantastic Four, which came out in 2005, which I have seen a few times. That was the first movie that I ever saw with Chris Evans in it, who went on to become Captain America. That movie is not very good. I thought it was just like kind of this weird kids movie, just really bland, and it just didn't do anything in the box office. It was a total dud. That's one problem that all of these Fantastic Four films that I'm talking about, they never really connected with an audience. Even with the hardcore fans, they never made any money. They tanked in the box office, and people didn't really like them. I don't think generally the consensus is, and they didn't get uh, really embraced by any critics either. So they kind of had a pretty rough go of it, and rightfully so, because they're not very good movies. And that fan, the one that came out in 2005 is not very good. It's not. I wouldn't say it's terrible, and like I think there are other comic book movies that are maybe worse than that movie, but it's not saying much. And there was a sequel, Rise of the Silver Surfer, which came out in 2007. And when it comes to the Fantastic Four, my favorite two characters in that world are is the Thing, and then I'm a huge Surfer fan. I love the whole sci-fi, otherworldly quality of that character. And I will say, I don't own any of these movies that I'm talking about, but I do own the Silver Surfer on DVD, and I actually like that movie. It's not like a masterpiece. Not everything has to be a masterpiece. But I think it's pretty good. Like I like the sci-fi quality of it. I like what they did, with the Silver Surfer. The CGI is pretty cool, and it's a pretty entertaining movie. I don't feel like I do. I do own it again, like on DVD, and it's a pretty good movie. I think it's way better than the movie, than the feature film that came before it, and it's pretty entertaining. I think it's pretty good. I do want to see it again. I haven't seen it in a few years, and I would say, after watching it again, I probably, seeing if it still holds up, as it's been a while since I've seen it, I probably would be into getting an upgrade of that film on Blu-ray. But pretty good movie. That's the best one out of the Silver Surfer, or the Rise of the, what is it called? The Rise of the Silver Surfer is, I think, probably the best movie, more or less, in any of these that I'm talking about. Um, and then after that, there was another reboot of the series, which came out in 2015, which was titled Fantastic Four. And that movie, it was okay. I mean, I saw that in the theater, and I think what they generally tried to do with the Fantastic Four, they tried to make it a little bit more kind of gritty, a little bit darker in tone, and and that's tricky when they do that, because that's a thing that Marvel Studios has tried to do, trying to make a lot of these superhero characters more grounded and a little bit grittier, darker to a degree, and sometimes it doesn't work. I don't, in this movie, I remember it being okay. Doctor Doom's portrayal, or Doctor Doom's character in the movie, of course, the iconic villain, was pretty decent. I liked that it had a little bit of a darker tone, but I mean, really, the Silver Surfer and the Fantastic Four characters, they're it's kind of like I love those characters and the comic books, because it really reminds me of the storyline, which is the thing that I'm really excited about seeing with the new Fantastic Four. Is, for me, it like has this quality of like, the characters, the setting, the world that the Fantastic Four live in, especially in the comic books. it's kind of light, it's kind of goofy, it's silly. It has, this B movie science fiction quality. It's got this heightened reality to it, very futuristic. Kind of similar to the movies that came out. I just did a show on the Terranauts, which is an amazing sci-fi movie from the '60s that I had never seen. But it's kind of got, to me, they've always had that thing where it has that classic kind of B movie sci-fi quality, where it's goofy and like kind of ridiculous and over the top, but super fun and entertaining, and a lot of cool like science fiction qualities, taken from that classic era of like the '60s and '70s, and of course, mainly the comic books all took place in the '60s, and it has that like pulpy kind of sci-fi vibe. And that's one thing I heard that this new movie really focuses on, which made me really excited. But the newer this version doesn't have that quality at all. It's a little bit more, well, contemporary. It's like set in a contemporary area or time, or world, but it doesn't have that silly kind of over the top B movie sci-fi quality. So, and it's a little bit more serious, and it's okay. It's not great, but I saw it in the theater thinking that that movie was going to be absolutely terrible, but it actually wasn't terrible. But it's not great. It's kind of missing the charm of what I was expecting. But it's not. Again, there are movies probably out there that are worse than that movie, but I've seen it a couple times, and it's all right. It's not great though. It could be. I could say that movie could be just a hard pass, but and then in 2019, Marvel Studios tried yet again to reboot this movie, to try to make a definitive Fantastic Four movie, because all of these movies that I've talked about, all three tanked completely in the box office. So in 2019, they did it again. Michael B. White, I think, is in it, and this movie that came out in 2019 is absolutely terrible. It's really bad. It's easily the worst um, movie out of this group. I mean, it's kind of a train wreck, and they totally missed the mark. And this movie, I believe, was the least successful of all the movies. And the last one that came out in 2019, I would say just has no redeeming qualities to it. I would not waste your time. I saw it when it came out on DVD a few years back. So, and yeah, not very good at all, and it total total trash. So Marvel Studios has not had any luck with bringing these characters to life. So I've heard mainly good things about this movie, about the new one that just came out. So we'll see. So stay tuned for, everything works out. I'll see it tomorrow at some point. Either I think we're gonna go to the late show or the nighttime show, and definitely I will do a review of it. So thanks again, and have a great weekend. Peace.